Hello everyone. In this video, we will be discussing CARET Legal's advanced document automation powered by Hotdocs. This new feature will enable law firms to streamline their document automation process by combining the immense power of Hotdocs with our leading practice management platform, CARET Legal. In the first portion of this video, we will show you how to generate scalable templates within Hotdocs Author, and in the second half, how in just a few clicks you can generate finalized documents. With that, I will pass things over to my colleague, Seth Hanasek, to walk you through Hotdocs Author.
Hello, my name is Seth Hanasek, and I'm excited to show you how to create powerful, intelligent templates using Hotdocs document automation. We create Hotdocs templates using a piece of software called Hotdocs Author. When we install Hotdocs Author, it adds an interface into Word that lets us create templates from our documents. Here I have an example document, which is a simple will, but it's important to note that Hotdocs works with any Word document. Anything that exists as a Word document can be turned into a template by Hotdocs using the same techniques I'm about to show you. When I want to turn this document into a template, I simply go into the Hotdocs Author ribbon in Word and create a template. I'll define some options for my new template, including what it's going to be called, and these can be adjusted as necessary. Hotdocs will then make a copy of our document and open it in Word with its editing interface. Our source document has now done its job. The template itself is a copy of the original document. The Hotdocs templates are stored in Word format, so we can use all of the features in Word that make your documents look and behave like your documents. We simply tell this document which parts of it will change each time we assemble a new document. Here we have a marker for the name of the testator of this will. I can select this marking text, and I can tell Hotdocs to add a Hotdocs placeholder. A placeholder is a field that Hotdocs uses to tell the text of the document to change itself in some way. We're going to add a variable placeholder. The variables represent questions that we ask of the user, as well as the named container where we store their answer. The testator's name will be text, so we'll create a text variable. Different variables will allow for different types of answers. We'll tell Hotdocs what we would like to call this variable, and Hotdocs will let us know that that variable doesn't yet exist, but it will give us a button to create it. We can also take this variable and ask it in a collection with a bunch of other variables about the testator. We can collect them on a single screen of the interview, which is the question and answer session where we gather the answers we need. And we can call this dialog testator details. And again, it will tell me that that dialog doesn't exist, but I get a button to create the dialog and then link our variable to the dialog. And finally, we need to add the field in the document, but I don't want to add it once. I'd like it to find every instance of my selected text and replace all of them at the same time. So I can check the box just above the add field button that says replace multiple, and I will get some search and replace options here. Now we have multiple actions that need to occur. We need to create the variable, create the dialog, and add the variable to the dialog, and then replace all of our selected text. But whenever Hotdocs can save you a moment, it will attempt to do so. So when there are multiple actions in the field editor over here on the right, the bottom button will automatically click all of the other buttons. So in a single action, when I click replace all, a number of things will happen. It will create the variable and the dialog and link the two together. It will search for testator full name and find it 7 times, and it will replace it everywhere it appears in the document. And now I have a template that will ask me for the name of the testator and place it everywhere that field appears. The fields themselves are live objects, and Hotdocs is aware of them at all times. So when we make changes, those changes are saved immediately. If there are ever any errors, they'll be reported to me right away, and when they're corrected, Hotdocs will correct them everywhere and update that in real time. Here I would like the name in the very first instance to be in uppercase. One of the things we have control of when we ask a question is the formatting of the answer. When a question gets asked to the user, I don't want the user to have to worry about how that answer will be used in the document. I just want them to give me an accurate answer. So I can change the format of this specific field and force capitalization of a particular type. So I would like to force this into uppercase. When I make this change, there's no save or apply buttons. These happen in real time. That change has now updated itself. We can then go through and create additional questions as necessary. For instance, I can put in the testator's address here. We're going to create a new variable, a text variable called testator county. Because it starts with the word testator, Hotdocs assumes it wants to be part of the testator details dialog, which it does. And here we can add the state. Now, I don't want the user to have to type out the state. There are a known list of 50 states. I'd like them to select from a list of those states. So we can create a special variable type called a select variable that lets us set up some predetermined options for the user to pick. Now I've added this variable, but I haven't defined my list of states. So Hotdocs is reporting an error. It's saying that no data rows were defined for this variable. Anytime we want to change the properties of a variable, we can edit its component. So each time we create something in Hotdocs, it's stored as a reusable entity called a component. We can edit those components' details to change their behavior. Here I need to define the specific states. And I can type in each of the states until I have a full list. And these will be presented to the user in a drop-down list where they can select the state that they would like. And as soon as I've defined those data rows, my error message goes away. We can also create lists of information. So here I have a list of children. We first need to define the questions needed for each individual child. So we will need the child's name. We will need the child's birth date. We will need the name of their parent from a previous marriage. Or, if they're not from a previous marriage, we'll need the name of the testator's spouse. Now, we'll need one of these names per child, but we'll need to determine which one we need. So we're going to ask a question about whether this child is from a previous marriage or not. So we'll select the name of this parent, which is optional. We'll either need this name of the parent or we won't, and we'll create something called a conditional region. So we can define sections of text of any length. So this is one field, but it could be a paragraph, it could be a sentence, it could be several pages, it could be a single word. Hotdocs doesn't really care. We select the text that is optional, and then we create a conditional region based on a number of conditions. And Hotdocs has a very powerful scripting language that will allow us to create very complex conditions that check a whole range of different things, including whether questions have answers and how those answers affect one another and whether they're in particular ranges. And we can create very complex decision trees that will collapse down to the right option. But we can also ask simple questions like a yes, no, or a true, false question. So we're going to create a new question to say, child is from previous marriage. And we build a rule using this wizard that says the rule is include region, which is the highlighted text, when the answer for variable child is from previous marriage is true. When we add our field, it puts in an if field and an end if field surrounding our optional text, and whatever's between the if and the end if is subject to the rule. Now, if they answer no, we want to include the spouse's name. We can associate these two by creating what's called an else statement. So we can select the end if and the spouse's name, and we can create what's called an else statement. This will change the end if into an else and add a new end if at the end, and now these are all associated with this single question. If the child is from a previous marriage, it will place in the name of the previous parent. Otherwise, it'll put in the spouse's name. Then for each child, we need to ask all of these questions once, and then let the user put in different answers for the next child, and so on. We do that by selecting the text that we want to represent each individual entry for the child, which is this whole row of the table. And then we create what's called a repeated region. This lets us create a dialogue to ask all of the child's details. And if I create this dialogue and edit its components, I can add these questions to it, and these will allow me to display the questions multiple times. So we need the child's name, their date of birth, whether or not they're from a previous marriage, and optionally the name of that specific parent. Then we have what's called the repetition property of this dialogue that tells it how it's meant to display. And there's two types of repeating dialogue. There's a repeating series, which displays each question on its own dialogue, but copies that dialogue. So this is the details for the first child, and we can enter those details and then add another child, and it will create a new empty copy of the same dialogue with the same questions. It'll let us put in new answers, and we can add as many children as we like, and they'll be listed over here in the outline of the interview with numbers against them. But we can also list this information and present it as a spreadsheet. So if I test this, we can see each column appears as a question, and each row represents one child. So whether we display this as a spreadsheet or a series, we define this as a repeating dialogue, and then we add our repeated region field, and it will add a repeat at the beginning and an end repeat at the end, and it will copy and paste this row per child. So we'll get one child per row. We can also get information that we might need through the use of scripting. So here we have the number of children. We need to count how many children the user's entered. Now we could ask this as a number variable, which will only allow for the user to enter a number as their answer. But we can also calculate this. As I mentioned, we have a scripting language available to us, and we could create something called a computation, which is a computed value. And these exist as components in the component file, so we can edit them and modify them. And we have access, when we're building scripts, we have access to all of the components that we've built so far, all of our variables and dialogues, etc. But we also have a list of scripting models, and it's an extensive list of things that we can do. But we don't need all of these models. We need one very specific model called count. And this will accept as an input a dialogue, a repeated dialogue. And this will return the number of children. And I need to make sure that my computation is producing the right kind of answer. So this is going to give me a number, but I've this setting up here says that we're producing text, and that's also generating an error message. But as soon as I switch this to tell the computation it's producing a number instead of text, that error will disappear. And this will now return the total number of children that the user has entered. And at any point, we can test this interview to see if it's doing what we expect. So there's a test button here in the author ribbon, and it will generate an interview, an accurate representation of what the user will see. And I can enter in this information as I need. Now here I can list children. Now, it's asking me for the spouse's name separately, but I actually would like that to appear on the testator's details. While I'm testing, I actually have access to all of these components. So I can actually right-click in the test and edit a component in place and see exactly what my change looks like while I'm testing. I can add the spouse's name here. And if I refresh my test, I can see the update here. And while I'm testing, I can preview my document and see what the finished document will look like. Hotdocs will render this as a PDF with all of my data in it, so I can see exactly what the output will appear as with my information. So I can see my name here, I can see my address, and if I scroll down, I can see my list of children. And we have the correct parent's name based on whether they were from a previous marriage or not. Now we have this question about whether the child is from a previous marriage, and if I answer no, I don't need to know the name of the parent. I can actually tell the template to hide information that isn't necessary. So we can change a setting here to automatically disable irrelevant variables and dialogues. And I will hide questions that Hotdocs doesn't need to ask. And now, if I go to my children's dialogue, if I answer no to the child being from a previous marriage, it doesn't need to know the name of the parent. But if I answer yes, it will ask that question. So the user will only see questions that are meaningful to them as we go. And we would continue in this process, adding additional variables, setting up conditions, and then when we're done, we can save and close this template. And at this point, we can publish it into CARET Legal and make mappings to the data in this template to pre-populate the answers to those questions with information from CARET Legal. And I will pass you over to my colleague Raphael, who will explain the details of how to do that. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone, Raphael Lopez here, and I could not be more excited to show you all advanced document automation powered by Hotdocs. Now that we have our document template generated, we will now want to create a mapping file within CARET Legal. A mapping file is a way to take specific CARET Legal data points and pre-populate them into your Hotdocs interview. These data points include standard contact and matter information, firm information, and custom fields, giving you all the versatility that you require. The templates and the mappings will be managed within firm settings under Documents and Notes. Here you will see all of the templates that have been uploaded and any relevant mappings. To generate a new mapping, you will simply select the Generate Mapping file, and this is going to download a CSV file letting you see all of the questions on your interview.
In the secondary column, you will be able to paste in your CARET legal merge fields, and these are going to be the ones taken within the Matter dashboard. Once a mapping has been completed, you can then upload it right within the secondary tab here. Once uploaded, you will then have the option to edit them within the application. As you can see over here, we've pre-populated many of the fields here. And the thought process here is you'll be able to intake the information once, pump that into your interview, and then spin up the one or more documents. Now, moving along into the Matter dashboard, I'm going to pull up an estate planning case. And you'll see I have my custom fields populated. We've already intaked that information. We have all of our related parties. So here we have 2 children available. And what I want to do now is generate the will. So to do so, we're going to go into the Documents tab, select Document Templates, and you'll see we have a section to pull our Hotdocs templates. So by selecting Simple Will, I'm going to start an interview. What this is going to do is going to pull that interview right into CARET Legal, and you'll see many of the data points are already populated. Anything that's checked off the screen just lets you know you've satisfied the required fields here. So now at this point, I'm able to go through, populate some of the data points which I had not mapped, and you always have the opportunity to do so. And as I'm populating this, you'll see the interview go ahead and let me know my next steps. So here a question is raised, do we have children involved? Which I'm going to select yes. And you'll notice in the outline, the children that were related to the matter are pre-populated with their relevant information. Quickly browsing through, I'll be able to finalize the interview here. And I'll be able to quickly verify the document in a preview format. So you'll see here, we took this template right over here, and we're able to, in less than a minute, go ahead and generate that with all of the relevant matter information. I do have the ability to see an answer summary and print that if need be. More importantly, I have the ability to finish the interview. Once the interview has been finished, we're now generating a document, and we're going to allow our users to edit the name of that document, saving that as a CARET legal doc. And you'll see over here, in this interview, we're actually generating 4 documents within one. I can go ahead and select Complete Upload, and now those documents are available. Now they're going to be OCR'd. You can edit them within CARET Legal, leverage our emailing component to send that out to the appropriate parties. The process has been completed. Now, if you or your team is interested in learning more about advanced document automation within CARET Legal, contact our team for a demonstration.